Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about 5 reasons you must never go back to your ex. So if you've got any of these 5 reasons to not get back with your ex, then you should not be getting back with your ex or even be thinking about getting back with them, okay? So the first reason you should never get back with an ex is you want them back but for nostalgic reasons. So sometimes you can sort of sense this if you are looking back at the relationship with nostalgia. You're looking back on the good times and you're not actually thinking about the bad times too. Because no doubt if you broke up, there were plenty of bad times, right? And it's more likely as well that the only good times that you had were mostly towards the beginning of the relationship and then things went slowly downhill, okay? So with that being said, if you're only looking back at the relationship with nostalgia, you're only thinking about the good times and you're not focusing on the bad times too, or giving even the bad times more emphasis, right? Then you should not be getting back with your ex. You should not get back with your ex just for nostalgic reasons, okay? So the second reason you must never get back with an ex is if you are focused on their potential and not who they really are. So what this means is sometimes when we get into a relationship, or we start dating someone, even at the really beginning, like because we're so, let's say, attracted to them, we think they're amazing, we kind of ignore the red flags and we kind of focused on, oh yeah, maybe I can change this person. They've said some things that kind of make me a bit like, oh God, I hope that, doesn't happen. I hope they don't continue to say things like that. I hope they don't continue to behave like that, and you're focused, if you're going through that and you're thinking about those things and you're ignoring those things, right? And sometimes we do at the beginning of a relationship if we're super attracted to someone, then that's not great. Like if you're too busy thinking about, yeah, but maybe I can change them, maybe they will change, right? It's not a good idea to get back with your ex if you're just hoping and praying that they're going to change, right? It's not a good idea. Okay, because what you got to realize is that maybe you are someone who is willing to improve themselves. Maybe if someone said to you, oh yeah, you need to change this behavior, or this behavior is a bit of a red flag, maybe you would work on that if someone was to say that to you. But not everyone is going to be like that. In fact, not many people are like that, right? Not many people are actually willing to work on themselves and to get better. And it's always better to assume that the majority of people that don't like to work on themselves and to improve their behavior. It's always best to assume that you're actually dealing with someone who is one of the majority, right? Unless they've proved to you in their actions that they're willing to adapt, they're willing to change, and they've changed their behavior in the past. But even then, you shouldn't be banking on them changing their behavior. It's just not a good way to go. So if you're too busy thinking about their potential, it's not a good idea to get back with your ex, okay? So the third reason you must never go back to an ex is if you're just lonely, right? So if you only want to get back with them because you've found no one else recently, you're feeling lonely, perhaps you haven't been able to see your friends or your family recently either, so you haven't been able to have that much human interaction, and maybe you're even scared and worried that you're not actually going to find anyone else as well, right? And if you're worried and you're fearful, then of course that's going to lead you back to your ex, right? So it's a good idea to realize that, yeah, I may be feeling lonely, but that's still no excuse for me to get back with someone, right? It's not a good idea. It's also not a very self-respecting thing to do, like, oh yeah, I'll just go back to my ex because I feel lonely and I've got no one else right now. It's like, just give yourself some time, right? Give yourself some time. And what's important as well is that you've got to really learn to enjoy your own company. You've got to really learn to enjoy being on your own, doing your own thing for a while, right? Because if you are dependent on a relationship to make you happy and to make you feel less alone, then yeah, of course you're going to go back to your exes. But it's not actually very healthy. What a healthy person is able to spend time on their own and to occupy themselves with different things, right? They can entertain themselves, by working on different projects, or perhaps they just, really love the way that they spend their alone time. Perhaps they read, do lots of different things. They work on different, they go to work, they go to the gym, they go, or maybe they're studying or something like that. They don't mind being on their own. It's not like a desperate need for them to be in a relationship. And if you do have a desperate need to be in a relationship and you hate being alone, you've really got to look at that and work that out and try to get that sorted out, because it's not healthy. It's not healthy to go from one relationship to another, or to go back to exes just because you're lonely and you don't like being in your own company. Right? You got to figure out ways to enjoy being on your own, like how to be productive during that time. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stay alone forever, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do that, right? But you got to get to a place where you don't mind being on your own, because if you don't mind being on your own, it doesn't matter if you have a breakup in the future as much, because you know that you're going to be okay. You know you're going to be all right to just have some time to just, some downtime to just be on your own, you know, right? And it's going to be fine. You know, it's not going to completely, you know, ruin your life, basically, and it's going to make you feel horrible and lonely and isolated. It shouldn't make you feel that way, right? So when you do get into a relationship and you know that you're okay, if something were to happen, you'll know that you'll be all right. You know you'll be able to get yourself back on your feet. If you know that, right, then it doesn't matter if a breakup happens in the future. And that actually makes you more free in relationships, and it makes your partner more free as well, right? But also you got to remember as well is that you can still find someone eventually, right? And you don't want to go back to leftovers, right? You want to go and find someone better. You want to improve. You want to upgrade, right? You don't want to go back to an ex just because you're feeling lonely. It's just not a great thing to do, right? Okay, so the fourth reason you must never go back to an ex is if they've treated you badly in the past and you know it. Right? If you know that they've treated you badly, if you know that they've said horrible things to you, belittled you, made you feel small, or they've been resentful towards you, or just nasty, or you know things like that, it's not a good idea to go back to someone who's like that, right? Right? You know, think about the things that they've said to you, the things that have really stung, the things that have really hurt, right? And it's like, do you really want that for the rest of your life? Right? Do you really want to get back with them and then just be continually treated like that? Because like I said, people are very unwilling most of the time to work on themselves. Okay? So if you go back to them, there's no chance, there's no guarantee that they're going to change. Right? They may change, but you don't want to be someone who is going to maybe change in the future. You want to have more certainty in your life, especially when it comes to relationships. You want to meet someone who isn't going to be any of those things, who isn't going to be mean to you, right, or nasty to you, or bitchy, or whatever, resentful towards you. You don't want someone like that in your life. It just makes things more difficult and more exhausting, right? And you're probably going to go to an early grave if you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship with someone like that, right? And you don't want that, right? You want to be with someone who is nice to you, who respects you, who loves you, right? Not someone who's going to be mean and horrible to you, right? It's just not a good way to go. So the fifth reason you must never get back with an ex is if your loved ones are clearly glad that you broke up. So if you've got family and friends that are like relieved for you that you've broken up with them, you're like, oh yeah, I'm just so glad you got out of that relationship. Take that on board, right? If people are glad that you broke up and they're just like, oh yeah, that person was never good for you. I didn't like the way that they treated you. I didn't like the way that they spoke to you. I don't like when they did this. I didn't like when they did that. I'm so glad you're not in that relationship anymore. Like if they're telling you things like that, it's a good idea to listen, right? And remember that, okay? Now, sometimes I think we deal with such low self-esteem sometimes that sometimes we go to people who are just going to treat us like crap because that's how unconsciously or maybe even consciously we feel about ourselves, right? But, you've got to really start having some self-respect, some self-esteem, right? And find someone who actually, isn't going to be horrible to you. And if your friends and your family are relieved for you, then, that's a good sign that you should not get back with your ex, okay? So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.ChristineLoveridge.com. And I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.